Hey guys, my name is Dan. Some of you guys know me as Soul or Gunnut. And today I'm going to start going over the case that I'm currently working on. I've been a Minecraft player for quite a while. I've run Minecraft server for about 6 years. So I decided what sounds better than making a 16-inch by 16-inch by 16-inch steel cube that is an eighth of an inch thick. A little bit overkill. But what it's going to be, once it's done, obviously this doesn't look the greatest, is a diamond block. The parts of metal that are exposed here are going to be cut out into the case, and then I'm going to have plexiglass sealed behind it, and it'll actually be a mineral oil build. What a mineral oil build is, if you don't already know, is instead of applying cooling, like liquid cooling to pressure points such as the CPU or GPU, you submerge the entire computer in mineral oil. There's controversy on whether or not it's beneficial or not. It is, but you really have to be an enthusiast to actually, get something out of it. It's really, you can get the same benefit out of just liquid cooling, but a mineral oil build that was, cools the computer just looks so much better. So on top of that, since the case is being made out of steel and the mineral oil will be touching, the case, whereas normally mineral oil builds are usually put in a plexiglass case, plexiglass doesn't transfer heat that well. Whereas with me using steel, it actually makes the entire case one giant heat sink. Now don't freak out, I am still using a radiator system, but not a conventional one. Okay, so I'm just going over what I have so far and then, what I intend to do. As you can see, I don't really have much, but you saw the one with the vinyl already applied for where I'm cutting out the pixels. Well, I'm also doing something on top of that. So I'm still cutting out the pixels, to show where the diamond ore is, and then that'll be the plexiglass directly behind it. But the figurines, such as the spider, the dragon, the skeleton, those will actually be etched into the metal. And then what I'll do is, after I etch everything, it'll actually do a physical layer change in the metal. But after I etch everything, I'll take it over to my brother's. He does powder coating, and I'll actually powder coat these sheets into a more appeasing block than, say, something like that. I chose the best sides of each piece of metal that I happened to get as a gift from my father, and decided to sand down using 220 grit with a dual action orbital sander, and that's what gave me, the smoother look, but not the best in the world, because the metal does have pits and other stuff that causes imperfections in it, and I'm just not going to sand it all the way down to get everything perfectly whenever I'm powder coating it anyways. Now, a demonstration that I have of etching, I use this as a test piece because, it was like a $12 piece of metal from Home Depot. And then at first, whenever I prepped the surface, I tried using a flat disc. Not a good idea. But after I finally sanded it, and I applied the vinyl and etched it, I can show more on doing that once I actually etch those pieces. This I didn't record because I wanted to learn from it. But with electro etching, I believe that's the proper term for it, but with electro etching, you run a current through the metal, and anything that's exposed, such as, you know, the pixels on this, although those will be cut out, but such as the figurines, that'll be etched into the metal. Anything that's covered by vinyl is protected. Well, with this one, what it does is it actually rusts at a really fast pace, anything that's exposed to water. And then if you don't get the rust all the way out before you do whatever it is you're doing, that's the after effect. So I consider this a failed piece, but it was for my wife, who I knew would love it anyways. But what I did with this was I, you know, did a vinyl application to where anything that's shiny on here was covered with vinyl, and then anything that's black or orangish was exposed. And then I etched it, and then after I etched it, I tried to clean it out, but I was actually scared to. I can explain more on that whenever I actually get to the etching, but I was scared to, so I didn't get as much of the rust out as I needed, and then I blued it while the vinyl was still on, and well, since I didn't get all the rust out, it's showing through the blue. But with those, I won't be bluing them. So as long as I get all the rust out before I powder coat it, it's not a big deal. The vinyl won't be on. And then other things that I learned with this test piece are, over here is a lot thinner than over here. Over here it's a lot deeper of an etch. And the reason why is, yes, I turned it as I was etching, but this side was exposed to the current. The sacrificial piece of metal was on that side a lot longer than all the rest, so it etched deeper into that side. So I'm going to have to make sure that I turn these pieces a lot more often and make sure that all sides get an even amount of etching. So I actually learned a lot from that piece. Then the case itself, obviously, you know, 6 sheets of 1/4 inch thick steel that are 16 inches by 16 inches are kind of going to be heavy. So I am putting them on four full, full pivoting casters, and then that'll just be at the bottom of the case. That way I can easily roll it around. And then if I ever want to be able to lift this thing again, obviously it's going to be needing handles. So I found these chest handles that I'll mount onto the sides after I get done. And that'll be fun. Now, the way the oil cooling system that I'm doing is I'm running it through a pump into a radiator. The radiator I have right now, I may use just this, or I may get a second one and just have them, you know, there's easily enough room to put at least 1, if not 2 more. And then if I ever absolutely needed to, I could even put more radiators down the back, or a completely different type of radiator. But this is just a $35 aftermarket transmission oil cooler. And then it has, if I recall, the inner diameter is, well, actually I don't remember. The outer diameter is 1/2 inch. So I'll be running 1/2 inch copper tubing, and then the copper tubing will also be powder coated some kind of color of blue to match with the diamond block look. The pump that I'm using is a Little Giant submersible statuary pump for fountains or ponds. And here it is, it's 170 gallons per hour. I chose to go with this because I don't like choosing conventional methods. I'm just weird, thus the mineral oil build. but I went with this because it's a 100% duty cycle, meaning it's designed to be run all the time versus all these other pumps out there that are cheaper or put out more gallons per hour, or they do this, they do that. Not all pumps are designed to be 100% duty cycle, meaning they're not designed to be run all the time. This one is. Two of the things I'll have to do with this though is with mineral oil, anything rubber breaks down over time. I'm not sure if this is rubber or plastic or something else. If it's rubber, well, I'm gonna have to cut it off and figure out some way to rewire it, but I can't take the pump apart because it's sealed. Then another thing is the pump actually has a rubber gasket right there. I'm probably just going to go over that with silicone and, you know, remove the gasket altogether. Oh, and then with the radiators, this will actually be my top piece. That's why it doesn't have any figurines, you know, etched into it or to be etched into it. And then the radiator will be underneath there, and then I'll have fan holes cut out, and then the fans will be mounted to where they pull air directly down through the radiator and out the back of the case through the power supply. The way the case is built, it's going to be, well, will be built, is it'll have a wet chamber and a dry chamber. The wet chamber will have my motherboard, graphics card, RAM, all that stuff. The dry chamber will have my hard drives, my power supply, and obviously my radiator. Then once this build is complete and I have my computer in there, I may want to upgrade my system down the road. For now I have, you know, it's nothing really special. But right now I have a i7 4790K with a pretty beefy air cooler on it. However, since I got it, a lot bigger ones have come out. My goal is to get the Dark-Rock, or the Be Quiet Dark-Rock Pro 3 or something like that. It's a huge heat sink. I want to get that so that I can get the most, you know, heat spreader contact with oil that I can and dissipate heat into the oil a lot faster. The motherboard is just an Asus Z97-AR, nothing special. It's a fairly entry-level board if I recall correctly. And then I have a GTX 970 super clock. Then the hard drives that'll be up top is a 1 terabyte traditional platter drive, and then 2 SSDs that are 850 Pros. They're 120 gig SSDs. I don't think I'll be putting the disk drive in because I can always just plug up, you know, a USB disk drive and hook it up externally. Then as far as all that goes, that takes me to my next conversation. The I/O panel. I will not be able to, you know, just with the way I want this set up, I want everything submerged. And I don't know if you know this about mineral oil builds or not, but oil wicks up cables. So I'm going to be extending probably 4, maybe 6 USB 3.0 ports. I'll be extending a RJ45 jack, and then I'll be extending the DVI cables and an HDMI. But what I'll have to do is I'll have to seal them from the dry chamber to the wet chamber. That way it doesn't wick up and the mineral oil, you know, gets all over your mouse cables, video cables, anything like that. So I figure I'll probably just use silicone and seal it at the back of the ports where no fluids can get through them. But the way that I'm going to be mounting my motherboard is I have to get another sheet of metal. So let's say it's a sheet like this, and then I'll have all the holes drilled on it to where I can mount any full-size ATX motherboard, or basically anything I want, just like any case, pretty much universally compatible. And then, as you see, there's plenty of space here to where it can fit like that. So, what I have here is drawer casters, you know, for like sliding your keyboard drawer in and out. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to turn them vertically, and once they're vertical, I'll set a point to, about right there, because anything farther than that, they get really unstable. But I'll set a stop in between it, and I'll have to do some other modifying. But I have two of these drawer casters, and I'll set it up to where I can raise or raise or lower the sheet of metal that has the motherboard mounted onto it. That way I can literally just pull it up out of the oil, and I'll have it to where it's at a slight tilt, and that way any of the mineral oil that's on the motherboard can just slowly trickle off for a few hours, because once this is up, I'll have it set to where it can lock in place. That way I can, if I ever need to do maintenance, I can get my board out without having to deal with all the mess and without having to drain the case. Because once it's in there, you really don't want to mess with it. With the pump came, or no, it didn't come with the pump, I'm sorry, it came with the oil cord. Came a nice little tube, but the reason why I'm going with the copper tubing over this, one, it looks better, especially once I powder coat the copper tubing, but two, guess what this is made out of? Rubber. And what happens to rubber in oil? It breaks down. So that's just something I wanted to point out in case someone else decides to do a mineral oil build. That's why I'm not using this. And then, as far as actually, forming the case into a cube, I'm going to be riveting just because I feel rivets look cooler, and then I'll silicone it just to keep it watertight. I haven't prepped them yet, but I have these 90 pieces that'll literally just be putting the sheets of metal together, to form a 90, and then I'll just do that on all of the sides to make a cube. Alright, that's about all I have on this for now. I'll also be uploading some video of the vinyl being cut out on my brother's vinyl cutter, and also some video of me weeding the vinyl to get all the trash off of the vinyl before I applied it, and then obviously me applying the vinyl as well as sanding the metal beforehand. And then at the end of this, I hope I will just have, good looking case that I can do a time lapse of from start to finish. Alright, I guess the next video I upload will be of me etching the metal, as well as I might upload a video of me applying the last 3 sheets of vinyl, if you guys care. I don't know. If you have any suggestions or tips or advice, I'm welcome to them. Just leave them in the comments. And also, one thing I am nervous about, and I'm going to ask around, but if you have any suggestions, please let me know. With me powder coating this, I'm not sure what the best applicator is to mount, say, the plexiglass, because whenever I cut out the pixels, I'm literally just going to glue the plexiglass onto the back. I figured the pressure from The pressure from the mineral oil should do enough of the job, but as far as just holding it, not, you know, to seal it. But I'm basically just going to have this so that you can see through it, see the mineral oil, and see the motherboard, all that fun stuff. Sorry about that. My camera actually cut out at the end because I filled up my storage. But what I was saying is what I'm thinking about using is a two-part epoxy. You know, just something like Gorilla Epoxy, where I can mix it together and then apply it. I think that should be enough to seal the plexiglass to the powder-coated sheet metal. But if any of you have any better ideas, please let me know. I'm definitely open to suggestions. And I hope you liked the video. Thanks.